My name is Dan Weeks.
And my name is Sindiso Mnisi-Weeks.
We started coming to Reservoir with our 3 young kids not long ago in the summer of 2022.
Searching for a new church was not something we planned to do a year or 2 ago.
Much less a church that was almost an hour's drive from southern New Hampshire, where we live. Good way to get the family moving on a Sunday morning.
But as for many followers of the way of Jesus, something changed for us after Ahmaud Arbery's and George Floyd's murders, as we found ourselves less and less at peace with, not to mention deeply grieved by, the seeming complacency of much of the white evangelical church in America.
It's not that we didn't see individual pastors and lay folks trying to walk in Jesus' footsteps, and we're grateful to them. But it became more and more clear to us that certain conversations about racial justice in particular were just out of bounds for many evangelical churches. That is not the way to the beloved community.
Of course, God has a tendency to surprise. In fact, one might even say that God specializes in taking, even shaking us out of our comfort zones. So, a good while into our feeling this growing discomfort stirring,
some friends of ours mentioned this church they attended down in Cambridge that was focused on both Jesus and justice. As I began to learn about Reservoir, something in my soul said yes. It seemed to speak directly to my quiet yearning to find a church that cared deeply about the people and principles my Bible tells me Jesus cared most about. A church that went out of its way to extend radical hospitality to all and defy entrenched notions of the other. A church that served its community freely and simply with unforced rhythms of grace. A church that regularly challenges people with lots of earthly privilege like me through its teaching and practice.
In my case, having grown up in Johannesburg, South Africa in the latter days of apartheid and early days of democracy, my parents had driven our family more than an hour to a black church in the township every week. I never fully understood why they did it, until I kind of became them. While Cambridge is hardly the equivalent of a South African township, and appropriately, Reservoir is a multiracial church, finding our family commuting to church has helped me understand how the search for spiritual community can sometimes lead you into my parents' circumstances, and can also divide the church. In that vein, in his 1958 book, Stride Towards Freedom, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. observed that Sunday morning is the most segregated time of the week in America. More than half a century later, the data show that is largely still true. But it doesn't have to be. King's dream of the beloved community can be realized in our time.
In that sense, walking through the glass doors into Reservoir's beautiful sanctuary that first Sunday felt a little bit like a homecoming. Our kids, who are often the only people of their complexion in a given room, saw people who looked like them. Their rambunctiousness wasn't frowned upon. There was even an area for them to play. The pastors, the message, the music, the sense of community in and outside the walls of the church itself all spoke to our mixed-up family.
For me, physically entering this church amidst the pandemic and not being the only family still sporting our COVID masks was a relief. And since then, I've been pleasantly surprised by the ways in which Reservoir prioritizes breaking bread together, as did Jesus and his disciples, with the fried chicken Manny hooks up, especially awakening memories of the black church of my childhood. I've been surprised by the ways it invites people into prayer with faith for healing, of which I often avail myself after service, and by the different modalities of worship, injecting a freshness into my approach of God and our children's and our engagement with our faith.
For all these reasons and more, we are grateful to call Reservoir our new church home.